Bunnykins celebrates your christening. A little china baby cup from the UK, presented to one of my children on their baptism. No judgment, Altar Guild. A pewter baby cup, presented to one of my children on their baptism. Altar Guild, I'm looking at you, people who take care of silver. This is a sterling silver baby cup, presented to one of my children. Who's responsible for polishing the silver in this household? And finally, sterling silver baby cup for me on my baptism. Good morning, I'm Amy Slaughter-Myers, one of the co-rectors here at St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Community Center, and this is a second in a series on this book, Walk in Love, Episcopal Beliefs and Practices. And the chapter that we're talking about today, don't need to have read it in advance, is chapter 2, The New Life of Grace, Baptismal Beliefs. Listen to the reflection question, one of the 4 at the end of this chapter. Our scriptures and liturgies make a strong connection between baptism and death. What are some of the things that we die to in our baptism, and how is our relationship with death changed by the waters of baptism? Death. Is that what you think about when you see Bunnykins celebrating your christening? There are a lot of traditions that many of us share around baptism, and this chapter, Scott Gunn and Gunn and Shobe talk about that one of the 2 dominical sacraments, that is, the sacraments that the Church Universal, greater than the Episcopal Church, the Church Universal in all times and places recognizes as given by Christ to the Church, are baptism and the Eucharist. And they also make the point in this chapter is that Jesus did not invent baptism, that Jesus adapted what was likely an extant cleansing ritual in the tradition that he himself knew. So when you hear that question, what are some of the things that we die to in our baptism, and how is our relationship with death changed by the waters of baptism? I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard to think about me as a baby, maybe you all as a baby, my kids as babies in general, dying in the water of baptism. But you can see that that is the promise of new life when we become members, so to speak, in Jesus's church. A couple of other things I wanted to lift up for you, and that is we, as the Episcopal Church, believe in baptism, as does the wider Church Universal, as that entry sacrament, let's say, into receiving additional sacraments. That is, that baptism is an invitation to a deeper life with Christ. And what may have been surprising or not surprising is that the point that they lift up here on page 25, of all the sacraments, baptism is the one that can be performed by anyone, anywhere, in an emergency. Talk to nurses, especially in places where babies are born, and you may hear stories of emergency baptism for deathly ill infants. In these situations, all that is required is water and the simple words, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Just a dab of water. And these words make a person the recipient of every benefit of baptism. So we have lived in a public health emergency for the last 2.5 years. God's people everywhere in all times and in all places have lived in emergency crises situations. And because the sacraments are not owned, so to speak, by the institutional church, they also make this point in this chapter, but are actually but one way that God communicates God's grace to all of us. Anyone can baptize someone. Anyone can baptize someone. So as we move toward those traditions that we have within the context of the Episcopal parish, the traditions of gathering together and performing the ritual and rite of baptism as we have come to understand it in the Episcopal Church, make no mistake that God's at work redeeming each person through baptism, through the water and belief and faith. I invite you to read this chapter on baptismal beliefs, and see you next time. Peace.